Okay, start work on the skyscraper. So I'm going to dive in here, head up to the right at the beginning. Press escape. It's running pretty slow, so I'm going to set this to manual. Okay. Okay, and then I want to see the helicopter there, which we have to set it to auto update, obviously. There we go. And then I'm just going to delete. So this is still packed geometry up here, right? So when I delete stuff, it won't be just the primitives, it'll be the kind of objects, right? So I'm going to set this to points. And I want to delete above and below a certain height, right? So set this to points. And again, I'm going to set this to manual. So it's going to be, so we need to look up the position in Y. And if the position is below, I come up with 84 meters, okay. Or, oh, sorry. Yeah, or, this will be or. So I'm just deleting all of them, and then a separate condition is if the position in Y is more than 111, right? So let's see that. Okay, so that gives me that nice selection there. And then I'm going to, let's call this iso fracture area. Okay, and then I'll click and drag on that. Try that again. I'll click and drag and call this iso non-fracture area, and then change this to delete non-selected. Okay, and then come here. I was just wondering, yeah, no, that's the time shift on the, okay. Yeah, it should be on frame 15, but that's the time shifted helicopter, that's fine, okay. So let's go to the concrete. Well, actually, before we do the concrete there, what I'm going to do is grab, and I'm going to section this off again. So let me just find, let me do it up here, I think. So I'm going to make a sphere. Always start with a sphere for this kind of thing. Okay, and maybe we'll template this and visualize that. We don't need to see the helicopter anymore. So we need to bring it up and make it bigger. Okay, this will be polygons. Let's move it over that way, so the helicopter's catching this corner here, right? I'm going to move it towards here, and then make it a bit bigger, kind of longer, I mean, and wider this way. Okay, so this is the actual area where we will simulate, and then let's give ourselves a load of make it a bit smoother, and then let's add our trusty mountain up to give ourselves some more interesting features on this. So I'm going to give it a height of 10, element size of 6, so nice and lumpy, and bring the roughness down 0.05. Oh, 0.05. Smooth it out a bit. Now I'm gonna VDB this, VDB from polygons. It's just an easy way to expand this. Set this to 1. We don't need that much resolution, and then VDB reshape SDF. Yeah, I'll put this off to the side because we'll need this, this size and this size separately. I want this to be bigger, basically. That's why I'm doing this dilate. Set it back to set it to 2. Let me move this up here. Yeah, we'll move it up here because I think we'll be using it on all of these. Maybe I'll just put a couple of nulls, and then convert this back to polygons. Convert VDB. Okay, 2 polygons. Right, that's fine. And then let's do a couple of nulls. Let's call this sim area big. And we'll do another one. Oops, what am I doing? Do another one before the VDB. So here, we'll do small. Just so this one is more expanded than this one, right? So yeah, I'm going to grab this, Control C on that, and then I'm going to run a Boolean fracture on that concrete. Okay, excuse me, my voice breaking there. So let's move that up there, move this up, grab a Boolean, set this to intersect, grab an object merge, and then we could just paste that null in there. So that goes into the left, this into the right. After unpacking, let's do it, well, we'll do it all in here. So let's try to give ourselves a bit more room. After unpacking and maybe converting as well. Don't know if it's necessary to do both. Plug that in there. And then let's see the results. So there we go. So we're just kind of snipping off a bit of the concrete there. I'm trying to get this as efficient as possible. Okay, and because I'm doing that, we'll need the rest, we'll need the opposite of this for the, for rendering this. So just copy that across and change it to subtract. That gives me the rest. And then I'll just drop a null on this and, so we can merge it in at the end with the simulation. So out concrete outer. I don't know. Doesn't really matter. We'll just come and find it, copy and paste it in. Cool. So we've got our concrete bits there. So we'll need this connectivity again because we've changed the geometry there. The measure we'll get rid of. We'll need to assemble. Yeah, I'll assemble this now. And I'm not going to split small pieces out now. So cut that. Assemble this. Let's change this connectivity. Primitive is fine. Assemble there and call this concrete. Okay, so we should have the name attribute. There we go. Okay, all our separate pieces there. We've got the convert again. We've already converted it, but it doesn't matter. Okay, so into the fracture. So let's see if this runs quickly. We'll see the result. There we go. So, that looks fine and worked well for, fracturing the whole building. But now that we're doing this much smaller piece, we can afford to get some more detail in the fracture, right? So let's do that. Let's find a piece. So that's fine to start off with. So just like before, we'll make it a bit bigger since we're copying spheres onto this. We'll scatter some points. I've decided to increase the density a bit. Okay, more points. These detail things, that we'll leave them as they are. And then the attribute randomize, let's make these smaller. So we get, again, more detail. Okay, what else do we want to do? The sphere, let's see, let's visualize that. Yeah, we're going to want more detail on the sphere here. Okay, so much a higher frequency. I'm going to push this to 50. Maybe not quite so high. We could do like 30. And then let's see the mountain there. So that's fine. Good thing to do to be more efficient when you're doing this kind of Boolean workflow is to grab a VDB of that original piece. Of the piece that we're going to fracture, the same piece. Ooh, I didn't want to do that. So I want another connection up here. and then dilate it quite a lot. So VDB reshape, SDF, just like we did for the other Boolean, but now we're not using this for a Boolean. We're using this to group points. So you can see I'm dilating that by 10. It's like peaking. It's the same as doing a peak, but this is a bit cleaner since we don't have geometry. We don't have polygons, you know, following normals. And then use this for a group to delete points that we don't need for the Boolean, right? So call this, I do this all the time, you know, you find, you know, kind of doing the same fracturing thing all the time. And I always call it delete me. I always do this VDB thing, you know, so it kind of becomes second nature. When I say that, I'll probably make a mistake now. So set this to bounding volume. It has to be points for a volume. I don't really know why, but it does. And then, okay, we can see that group. Well, probably can't see it. It's inside here. Oh, I saw some bits of it then. You see these yellow bits, so, you know, we are making the selection. And then I'm going to delete that. Well, everything else other than that. So set this to points and then to delete me. Delete non-selected. Visualize that. And there we go. That's much more efficient. That's kind of grabbing those cutting planes. But, you know, the reshape will make sure that it's still much bigger than our geometry that is going to cut, which is really important for a clean fracture, right? So yeah, then we want to remesh that, but we can go really small. I'm going to go to 0.2, and then maybe subdivide it further. Okay, and then since we've got triangles here, set the subdivide to subdivide loop. Okay, move that up, and then maybe a couple more mounts. And we got the big shapes here, but, you know, I want medium-sized detail and a smaller size detail again, I think, right? So so for the medium one, I think we'll do, let's just see what that's like. Let's make it bigger, like 3 and 3. Normally keep these the same, to be honest. Well, close to being the same. And then one more for really small details. You could add another subdivide again here if you're brave enough. Okay, for those smaller details, and then drop the roughness on that final one. Cool. Okay, so just to get a sense of all those different layers of detail, we got that, and then that, and then that. So that gives nice, crunchy kind of pieces. Okay, and then this will go into the Boolean fracture. We can change this to append. I don't think it really matters where, you know, yeah, we're not doing constraints, but essentially this will add a name onto the name that we made up here. But that's important if you're making constraints, but I'm not going to bring the constraints out of here. I'm going to leave, well, we'll bring them out just in case, but I think we're just going to, we're going to make constraints later on, kind of general ones. Maybe the pack to grab those constraints. You could just merge them together and give them groups, but it's just a bit neater. Nice to use the new tools, you know. Okay, let's just take a look at that fracture. All right. So you can see we got these nice crunchy edges that kind of really looks like concrete, yeah. And an exploded view, just to take a look at this. Cool. Really detailed. Take a look from the point of view of the camera. Got some nice, lots of small pieces and a few bigger pieces as well. So before running through everything, maybe we got this file cache here. So this is already set up in this project, right? So we want to change this. Let's make another folder inside. And then we'll use the same one for the other file caches, right? So let's call it heli. And then, you know, we won't overwrite the other one, okay? So save that, and it will run through the for each loop there. You can see 5 of 20, 21. Okay, so let's take a look at that and then grab the exploded view for this. See how they look together. Oh yeah, we need to, sorry, MBD unpack. So we can actually see that. Cool, so loads of pieces, nice and detailed, nice and nice rough edges. So we can pretty much get rid of all this stuff now, I think. Yeah, so I'm gonna delete all of that, I think. We'll build anything up we need for constraints later. Let's try to kind of clean up our setup here. There we go. Concrete is fractured and ready to sim, more or less.